Okay, so this is the Lunch and Learn with Sourcewell.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Henke. I'm a client relations administrator with Sourcewell, and I will be your direct point of contact for Broward County. So delighted to be with you today. I wish I could be in person. We had a few inches of snow this week. You might have heard the Twin Cities area had around a foot. We had about 6 to 8 inches here, so much rather be in Florida. So I appreciate your time today, and please, this is your meeting, so please ask any questions. Like Alexa said, just type those in the chat, and we can review those. But excited to be with you, and I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get started. All right, Sourcewell is a government agency. We have been doing cooperative purchasing for many years. We have authority to offer cooperative purchasing contracts throughout the country, and the state legislature gave us this approval back in 1977. So we were originally set up as a school district. So we have cooperatives here in Minnesota. We have 9 different service cooperative regions, and Sourcewell is actually one of those regions. And because of the structure, we're able to complete the solicitation process and offer our cooperative purchasing contracts throughout the country. So I know you guys are avid users. We have over 50,000 agencies across the country that are using Sourcewell contracts. So if you are a member of a church or nonprofit, they are eligible, K through 12, universities, and of course our government agencies. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to go over. There's always a few questions on that. So I always start just by giving you a general explanation of who we are and what we do. So we've got about 300 employees that work here. We've got an education division that works in our region here, Region 5. That applies educational programs. We help schools. A lot of our funding goes to help build special education facilities. So when you're using Sourcewell contracts, you're not only boosting education across the country, but you're also providing essential services to government agencies like yourself as far as funding that goes to NIGP and the scholarship programs that we have. And I always like to give a plug to those scholarship programs that NIGP works to put together. We've had 72 different awardees from the state of Florida. So if you haven't applied for those and you want to attend forum or you want to be any part of any kind of educational sessions that they have a leadership summit that you just had last month. So if you're interested in any of those things, check out the NIGP website for a little bit more information. So uh, obviously we do cooperative purchasing. So you guys are users of those. You know, it can streamline your process. It saves you money. It's just a slick way to be able to do business. I was a Parks and Rec director for 19 years before I joined Sourcewell. And it took me about 10 years to find cooperative purchasing. And some of you may have seen a video that we put together that we shared at FAPO last year, where we basically filmed an interaction between an end user, myself, and a procurement official. And we talked about just not getting the piece of equipment that an end user wants at the end of the day, and how a cooperative contract could have solved a kind of a bitter situation between an end user and a procurement officer. So this is a great way to have your end users be able to secure what they want. It enables you to work with your local suppliers. So we want to make sure you're using your tax-paying citizens in businesses in Broward County. And so that's important for us and for your community. I know personally, my work through Cross Lake, Minnesota, as the Parks Director, I know our council made it a priority, even if something maybe cost a little bit more to buy it locally. These cooperative contracts allow you to work with your local authorized dealers to keep that business in town. So it's a great way to support your community. So there's two types of cooperatives out there. There's a government cooperative model, which Sourcewell fits in. That is the model that we follow. And there's a lead agency model. The differences between those: for a lead agency, a cooperative will have someone else do their competitive solicitation process on their behalf. So they do not have any direct involvement with putting that solicitation together. That government agency will do that, and many different government agencies do that for a handful of cooperatives across the country. At Sourcewell, our procurement team does everything in-house. So we have total control. We have consistency. We have the similar people that are grading and scoring these proposals. So we love our process, and many others are comfortable with the government process. But at the end of the day, you need to find the equipment that you're looking for. And if you can't find it with a Sourcewell contract, as your client relations administrator, my job is to go out there and help you find it. So as a public employee, just like you, I want to make sure you can find what you're looking for. If Sourcewell doesn't have it, please reach out. I'd be happy to assist you finding whatever you're looking for, even if it's with another cooperative. That's just, as a public employee, that's something that I've always felt strongly about, is the customer service that we offer. So as far as using a cooperative contract, it can cut your purchasing process time in half. You still have to go through those same processes that you're going to do if you're doing the bid yourself. You're going to have to, do all these things, and the cooperative is going to check all these boxes. We don't skip any steps. So it's a very efficient way to make your purchases. So it just kind of lists out the process that you guys are going to go through, the process that you can use with Sourcewell. We take care of all these steps for you, so you can compare a few quotes off a Sourcewell contract and go with the best value if you want to. If it doesn't matter what the name brand is for the particular piece of equipment that you're purchasing. So gives you some flexibility there. You're still meeting the letter of the law, but it all comes down to your local procurement policy. And so you guys have been using Sourcewell contracts for a long time, so it's not a problem using cooperative contracts. So again, we don't skip any processes in the solicitation requirements. We are a government agency. We take pride in quick email and phone responses. So if you call me, usually I'll get back to you in a couple hours. I just worked with a couple of your team members in the last few weeks, looking for some different supplies for, I think it was a rehab facility that you must have there in your county. They were looking for some personal products and some other things that we were able to help them out with. So again, I will be your assigned point of contact. I hope to add you. If you're not listed as a contact with Sourcewell now, you can easily do that from the website, and I can show you how to do that a little bit later in the presentation. But we've made some new additions to our website, and we'll cover those here in a little bit. So I said before, the government agency or government model of cooperative purchasing is what we do. And this is the picture of our, we call them our procurement heroes. Without these folks, we wouldn't have any contracts to offer the government agencies across the country. So we take pride in being an AEP award winner for the last 7 years in a row. We have a goal of scoring a little bit higher each year. And so we set the bar high for our team, and they've been able to do that for the last 7 years. So I don't know if they'll continue to do that as the program goes on, but it's our goal to earn this award each year, and we take pride in the team that puts in the hard work to be able to get this done. So give you an idea of Sourcewell sales by state. Obviously, California and New York are our biggest users. California, just by the pure size But when you look at New York, they have adopted, I think, 42 of our contracts as their own. So Florida has also adopted Sourcewell contracts as their own state contracts. So that boosts sales when you have 42 different state contracts that are actually Sourcewell contracts. Revenue can build pretty quick through the use of those contracts. So Florida is, I think, our third largest user of Sourcewell contracts, followed by Texas and Tennessee. So um, very popular for folks to be using Sourcewell, and we take pride in what we do, and we want to thank you for your use of Sourcewell contracts. I wanted to spend a little bit of time just drilling down to what the most popular contracts are in the last few years in Florida. And you can see those on your screen here on the right. National Auto Fleet leading the pack, and that contract is one of our top 5 contracts across the country, especially now that vehicles have been so hard to acquire. It helps to have a contract that offers all the major brands of vehicles. Most state contracts will offer Ford or Chevy, but they won't offer all the brands. This is the most unique cooperative contract in the country. It's the only cooperative contract as far as fleet that offers all the leading manufacturers, and those vehicles are built to your specs at the factory, and then they are delivered to your location. You've got a one location in Sebring, Florida. Allen J is part of the National Auto Fleet Group. I don't think it's too awfully far from Broward County, but a lot of folks will go through Allen J to purchase their vehicles and use this National Auto Fleet contract. So that's a good tip for you if you're looking for vehicles. Your team might be able to find those resources or work with a Florida supplier to be able to utilize that National Auto Fleet contract. But Broward County's use is on the left here, and you can see SHI is at the top, just over $3 million in use. And I think I listed the top 20 contracts on both of these sides just to give you an idea of what contracts you've used in the past and what other counties in Florida are using. And you'll see some similarities here. Staples has 2 contracts. That's why you see their name twice on this list. They actually have 3 contracts with Sourcewell. They have their office supplies and janitorial, and one other contract that escapes me right now, but very popular. Staples is one of our top 5 contracts. It's awesome discounts, and it's probably the reason why your team has them as the third most utilized contract for your county. So if you guys have questions about these, please let me know, and we can cover those a little bit later in the presentation. So obviously, cooperative purchasing is very popular. It's growing each year. By 2025, it'll be about 61 billion. This year, Sourcewell is expecting our sales and use of our contracts to be close to $8 billion. Last year was at 6 billion. So the growth is very rapid. There's a lot of money involved with cooperative contracts. We take pride as a government agency into taking the revenue that comes in and investing that back in to other government agencies through NIGP, like I talked about a little bit earlier, but also through school systems across the country. In fact, we had some grant award winners through the Superintendents Association last year for the hurricane that hit last fall. And so when you use a Sourcewell contract, a lot of these funds are contributed back to your local communities in different ways. So we feel passionate about enriching communities across the country, and hope that our users realize that when you use a Sourcewell contract, it does help build communities. It's not going to shareholders, because there is cooperatives that are for-profit organizations, and they still offer great products. As a government employee, I don't want to try to pull anyone down, but just know that when you use a Sourcewell contract, we are going to be contributing back to communities and putting that money to use. This gives you an idea of just how government agencies across the country complete their procurement process. About 40% still do, bids and RFPs on their own. And then you've got about 40% split. Um, statewide contracts, they're cooperative contracts. They're really no different than a Sourcewell contract. So we really could have combined those just into cooperative purchasing. But we like to break it out just to give you an idea of what kind of use is out there. And then you've got informal purchasing or sole source making up about 21%. Construction. I'm sure some of your team deals with construction. Very popular program, very popular in Broward County. I think out of that 22 million that you had running through Sourcewell contracts, I think about 9 million was made up from construction contracts that you guys have been utilizing there in the county. So this will give you an idea of some of the awarded contractors. This isn't all of them, but these are some contractors that are available in your area. The nice thing about a construction contract is you can have these folks come out and start a project sometimes the next afternoon. They've already went through the competitive process. They've been awarded a contract. If you got the funds in your budget, you can contact these folks and get them out there and start working on projects. A lot of people use them for like roofing projects. It could be whatever you might need. A lot of times though, it's maintenance type contracts that sometimes you have problems getting people to respond to maybe a bid or an RFP that you're doing. These folks are already on contract with us. They can start the work right away. It just expedites that construction getting done and completed in your community. So great option for you. I also wanted to touch on government financing. And a lot of times people kind of cringe when they think of borrowing money for public projects. We work with a group called NCL, and they've went through a competitive process. They've been awarded a contract through Sourcewell. And this contract is I think it's one of the top 10 contracts in Florida. And it is a top 10 for a good reason. When we went through the pandemic and we've been experiencing inflation, prices have been going up so fast that a lot of folks are deciding to, even if they don't have the funds, to be able to finance a project or a purchase now and pay on average just around 5% in interest. When you look at the cost of some of the supplies out there that are going up 20, 30, 40%, um, being able to purchase something today instead of waiting 6 months from now can obviously save you a lot of money. These payments can be spread out over a certain number of years. NCL will work with your finance team there with Broward County and be able to spread those payments out and be able to work so that those payments get allocated in your yearly budgets. So it's really a nice way to make purchases. And sometimes you might not have the money in your budget, but it's something that you really need to acquire. Let's say, the hurricane that came in last year over in Lee County, they might have to look at using some of this financing to be able to make some of the payments that they didn't know they were going to have to deal with. And they're still getting bills in that they don't have funding for. So they have to figure out some ways to be able to finance some of those. And NCL can definitely help you out if you get in that situation. So Dow, I'd like to just take you through and show you how to find a contract with Sourcewell. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to turn my camera off so you don't have to watch me going back and forth here. But give you an idea of the Sourcewell website. We've made some changes here recently that for those of you that have been around for a while, more than a year, we made some changes last July and to make our website a little bit more efficient to utilize. And we also introduced something called Buy Sourcewell, which is our e-procurement platform that we are still in development. There's features of it that we'll go over today, but I wanted to spend some time just basically showing you how to find a contract with Sourcewell. So you can just type Sourcewell into any search engine. You'll get to our website. If you're not familiar with it, you can open up the how it works. This will just explain, you know, details about cooperative purchasing. It'll talk about our RFP process that we have here if you want to get an idea of how Sourcewell develops these contracts. It has information on that. And while I'm on that subject, I just wanted to mention we have different groups that we set up, and they're advisory groups that can actually provide input. If you're looking for a certain supply or service and you can't find it on a cooperative, we have these advisory groups that we listen to, we get feedback, and we can feed that information back to our category development team, and they can possibly develop a category so you can see that possible solution in the future. So please let us know if you got an idea or something you can't find. You can shoot me an email, or you can let me know if you'd like to be involved with one of these groups, and I would gladly put you forward to the Sourcewell personnel who organizes this. So great website. We've got some videos here. The videos are great, but they were filmed on our old website, so not everything is going to be the same. We're in the process of doing some recording now with our new information that we have available. So okay. So as far as finding a contract, you're going to want to go over to the Explore Contracts tab right in the middle of your screen here. You can click on that. You can go down. This will give you different categories. So you can scroll down and see all these different categories that you can pick to be able to expedite your search. You can do it that way. Or at the top of the screen, you will see a magnifying glass here. You can always open that up and pick your favorite. National Auto Fleet Group is something that I had that just popped up that I just used here. But you can quickly then pull up National Auto Fleet Group's information. So they have two different contracts with us. So that would be how easy it is to find a contract by using the magnifying glass. But most people will click the browse contracts. That'll take you to our suppliers and contracts page. You can search by category. All suppliers would just be an alphabetical list. If you're interested in construction, that's available here. So you could click on Easy IQC. You could pick your county or your state first and then your county. Pick Broward here, and it will populate all the approved contractors, the awarded contractors in your area. So it's that easy to find the contractors that you're looking for. You can break this down even further by picking the category that you're searching for. If you just need a general contractor, that'll populate, and these are all the generals that you have in your county to utilize. So very easy to find that. So let's go back to search by category. Today, I was a parks director for 19 years, so I always have my favorites, and Parks and Rec is one of them. I still have a passion there and work with a lot of park and rec agencies across the country. But this is how you would find it. If we were looking for playgrounds, we can go down, we click the playground category, and that's going to populate all the playground related contracts that we have. So we'll pick one here. We'll pick landscape structures. This is a Sourcewell landing page. All of our pages look pretty much have a layout identical to this. You have the name of the manufacturer at the top of the page. You have the category that they were awarded in. You have the contract number, and you have the maturity date. So the important thing when you use a Sourcewell contract and you ask for a quote, so you might be, let's just, if you were searching for a playground, obviously you would go over to the contact information, you reach out to Elaine, you'd want to find your local authorized dealer in Broward County, and you'd reach out to that salesperson. They would work directly with you to develop a quote. When you ask them for a quote, you want to make sure that you ask them to place the contract number, so their Sourcewell contract number on that PO, that invoice, or that quote, and also your account number from Broward County. And that's important because when you get audited on purchases over threshold, which for 19 years straight, I was called up to City Hall to make sure that we had all the competitive documentation on file to prove that we went through a competitive process. An auditor, if he has the contract number and your account number, he can very easily just type this contract number into the Sourcewell website and pull up all that competitive documentation. It'll take him, he or she, to this page. They can click on the documents, and all that competitive documentation is in front of them right here. So that's how you would find a contract, no matter what you're looking for. These pages all look the same. So the tabs that you're going to use the most, you're going to use that contact information to be able to find that contact from the supplier. And I also want to point out that all 560 plus contracts that Sourcewell has have a supplier development administrator that manages each one of these contracts. In this case, Joram handles the landscape structures contract. So if you have a question about the contract, you have a question about the pricing that you received, Joram, we're all public employees. He can pull the pricing files from our database and be able to send those particular files to you and verify that the price that you were provided meets the contract information that we have from Landscape Structures. So they're a great resource. I will be your direct point of contact. So if you want to just shoot me an email and say, hey, John, I need some information and pricing on landscape structures. We got a quote. We want to verify it. What I will do is I will introduce you to Joram. Joram will then pass along that information to you. And that's kind of the process we use to be able to get what you need to make your purchases. So, all right. So let's go back to the main website here. I want to show you the Buy Sourcewell site quickly before we open it up here to questions in a bit. So you're going to be required to set up a username and password. Our normal site, you do not need that. So if you want to search for contracts, you can just go through that process that I just showed you to be able to, excuse me, search all of our contracts. But if you want to log in to Buy Sourcewell, you can click on this, learn about Buy Sourcewell. It'll kind of explain what Buy Sourcewell is. Looks just like this. And when you click on this button, it'll take you to a page where you can create a username and a password and send that information into our team. And they will go through your documents, make sure your email address matches the contact that we have in our system. But it's important to remember that your team is going to have just a few people that are going to be authorized to use their P card to make purchases, because this Buy Sourcewell site works just like Amazon. You can use your P card to make purchases, and you don't want everyone and their brother being able to make purchases from your team. So most people authorize a couple different users from their team to utilize the purchase option of Buy Sourcewell, and you can use that. Right now, we've got about 30 suppliers that are involved with Buy Sourcewell, and I'm just going to sign into my account here so you can get a quick peek of what it looks like. So this is Buy Sourcewell. And the awesome thing about this new website that we're developing, not only can you see the supplier stores that we have, so each one of these 30 different suppliers has an online store where you can go in and directly purchase from them. They all have awarded contracts. So this is a great way to make that purchase super quick. You don't even have to go through the supplier. You can go to their store and make a purchase. But the other cool thing about the site is, as we get more and more suppliers on here, you can get quotes. So I can go through, I can make a request name, I can describe what I'm looking for, I can request a delivery date when you want to be able to acquire this equipment, what your deadline is as far as receiving that quote back, and then you can browse the suppliers and pick the suppliers you want quotes from. So this is going to be an awesome tool. About, I would guess, like 30% of those 560 contracts that we have the quote feature activated. So this is going to be a real bonus for procurement departments across the country to be able to quickly get quotes through by Sourcewell. So let me just go back a page here. So if I want to find out who has that quote feature, I can just click on all suppliers. This is going to list all the suppliers we have. There's 590 results here. And if you look on this page, one, you can click and go to directly to their page, and I will do that in a minute. But you'll see the first one here, 22nd Centuries Technologies. They have the request a quote feature. So that's what that's going to look like. So if you want to find out who has this ability, you can just scroll through here and see which companies have the request a quote feature. So more and more of our awarded suppliers are getting involved with this and adding that feature to their portfolio at Sourcewell. So Alltech is a very popular one for utilities. They have this feature. I'm going to open up their page so you have an idea of the differences between the original Sourcewell website and by Sourcewell. With by Sourcewell, you don't have tabs to activate. Everything is located on one page. So your contract documentation is over here. You have your contacts here. You have what's offered through the contract, gives you a general idea, and you have pricing information. Now, the pricing information on Sourcewell, usually it's going to say you get a percentage off. And I don't know if this is probably not going to show up until I drag it over here so you can see it, but just one second here. So typically you'll see it's a percentage off the MSRP. MSRP doesn't really give you the information that you need, and we don't put detailed information on the website. The suppliers choose not to do that because they don't want their competition to be able to undercut them when they do pricing. So you can get those files from us. You just simply have to send an email. There are certain suppliers that give their full array of supplies and services that they offer and give a detailed price sheet. Polaris is one that I just looked up the other day. So they're going to be able to do that for you. But this is going to be a really great tool. We're improving it every day. It gets a little bit better as we add more suppliers. So, all right. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And Alexa, I'd be happy to take questions. If you guys want to take a quick look at your account, I guess before I go back here, everything's transparent at Sourcewell because we are a government agency. We can share everything with you. So this is your account. You've been members since October 23rd of 2008. As far as our contacts, I know I'm going to have to update this. I'm hoping I can add those on the call today to the list. But you're going to see all the contacts that we currently have. I think we've got 20 names, and I saw was online today. So hi, so a lot of these names might be some folks that maybe have left the county. So I would really like to update this account when you guys have some time. We'd like to do this, but this will give you an idea of the sales and services that you've utilized through Sourcewell. So we can share all this information with you. Here's some of the sales that you made recently. So these are all listed out here. So please let me know if you have questions. We'd be happy to answer those for you. And I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for questions.
Okay, so I'm looking in the chat. The first question I have here is, are Sourcewell contracts multiple award schedules?
Yes, so we have multiple awards in pretty much every category that we put together. And we do that because we have government agencies all across the country that might not have one particular supplier in their region. So that is the main reason we have more than one supplier that's awarded in a particular category. It also allows you to get quotes inside that same category from more than one supplier. Some government agencies, even though they're using a cooperative, they still might need to get 3 quotes. This gives you the ability to and easily be able to acquire 3 quotes. And whether you go with the low quote, you don't have to go with the low quote, obviously, with a cooperative contract, but that choice is up to you to meet what you need.
Okay, and the next question is, do you require competitive solicitation to resellers as it pertains to software subscriptions, for example?
Yes, we have in that IT category. We have quite a array of contracts that are available to utilize. Each one is a little bit unique and different, so you have to find the particular IT category that you want to fit in, and then we would have you work with that supplier development administrator to make sure your needs are met. So they're going to handle those specific questions. So the person that manages that contract, we saw how to find them on that contract page. I would suggest you reach out to them with detailed questions as far as an IT contract like that.
Okay. And could you walk us through the links that you provided in the meeting invitation briefly?
Okay. What was the first? I don't have that in front of me,
All right,
Alexa. Do you?
let me go ahead and pull those up here. Okay, so the first one I see is the Soil Advantage video. What does that
Okay.
entail?
Yep, it just basically gives you an overview of what Sourcewell is and what we do. So it's a 2-minute video. I attach it to my introductory email to all my new clients that come in. Just gives you a quick synopsis of what we do, how we do it, and what authority we have to do it. So.
Okay, the next one is how do I find a contract?
Yep, and that is one of the videos that I pointed out earlier that was recorded with our old website. It still works very similar. I mean, if you watch the video, you'd still get the gist of it, but instead of I think it's find contracts, now it's browse contracts. So on our website, you're just going to click on that browse contracts and be able to go through and find that. And you can find those videos right on that opening page at Sourcewell's main landing page. So.
Okay. Probably the same for the how do I make a purchase?
Yes, yep, and that's an important part of the process is just making sure that you have your account number for Broward County, and that's 21260. And like I said, for those that aren't listed as a contact, the advantages of having your contact with Sourcewell, you're going to get monthly award announcements from us. So you can keep track of what new contracts are awarded and be able to be notified on some of those. So it's important that you add yourself as a contact and you can reach directly out to me. I'm just like an extension of your team. So please reach out anytime you have questions.
Okay. And the complete Sourcewell contract list?
Yep, you can find that by going to, or I can actually email that link to you, but you can go to our contracts general page, and I can just let me share my screen here quick, and I will show you where you can find that. Okay, so if we go up here to explore contracts, browse contracts, right here, suppliers and contracts, you can see download current contract listing spreadsheet. This will be able to, and I'll open that up so you can see it here. If Excel wants to load here, just one second. And for some reason it didn't want to load on my computer. This is a great way to see all of our contracts that we have available. I'm sure there's something just wrong with my computer today, but this will load it up. You can search by different categories. You can filter out your search so you can see all those specific contracts. So that's where you're going to find that tab.
Okay. And I believe Bob has joined us. I think Bob wanted to make a few comments here and then probably close us out, John. I don't see
Great.
anything further. Oh, I do see one more question in the chat before
Yep.
I kick over to Bob. Do Sourcewell contracts typically allow for participating agencies to enter into a participating amendment with the awarded vendor to
Yeah,
add terms and conditions specific
right.
to the agency?
Thank you for bringing that up. That is a very important part of my presentation that I did not touch on. So, yes, you can add terms and conditions to these contracts. As long as the supplier agrees to those terms and conditions, they become part of the contract. So, you do have the flexibility to add those. I mean, you can't change the gist of some of the essential parts of the contract. Our contract also meets federal terms and conditions too. A lot of folks always wonder that question, like, can we use Sourcewell for some of the grant funding that we received from the federal government? The ultimate decision is up to each individual agency to do that, but we do have a sheet that I would be happy to, it's a memo that you can utilize if you're contemplating using a cooperative contract through Sourcewell with federal funds. So I'd be happy to email that out to anyone that's interested in that. And you can review. It might be a great resource to have if you want to use federal funds.
Okay, and I see Leanne, your hand is raised. Did you want to come off mic and ask another question?
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that, that when you have a situation like that, as long as the contract allows you to add additional terms and conditions, you can go ahead and include FTA language, which we do on a regular basis.
Mhm.
I handle software procurements, so I just wanted to let everyone know that as long as you see that language in the contract, which most um, um, alternate government contracts allow you to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, that is a great point.
Okay, so Bob, I don't know if you want to jump in here and close us out.
Okay.
So, can you see me? Okay. So thanks very much, John, for joining us. Apologize. My boss called me into a meeting. I wasn't able to make it, but I was looking forward to participating, so I will look forward to the recorded session. Thank you for attending this. I will say that Sourcewell and I have had working relationships going back to the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was in Virginia and also when I was in Maryland. So I'm very familiar with your value proposition, and I appreciate your spending time with us today. I did note 22nd Century or Century 22 on your list there. I'm very familiar with them as a managed service provider for IT technology services. So I'm intrigued by that, and I'm sure there's plenty of other things that we can use too in your portfolio. So thanks very much. Alexa, thank you for pulling this together. And John, you're always welcome to reach out to me directly in the future. Thank you.
Okay. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for joining me today and allowing me some time with your team. And I will be stopping by and making an on-site visit here in the future. So hopefully you'll be open to me stopping by and saying hello and
Absolutely.
thanking for your use. So
It's a lot warmer here, I'll tell you.
yeah, well, I tell you what, if I could be there today, I would be, because it was 17 below here this morning, to give you an idea of what the temperatures we're experiencing. We're heading to Mexico 7 days from now, so we will be in warmer surroundings soon. So I look
Okay.
forward to seeing you all here in the next couple months, and hopefully we'll see you at FAPO for those of you that are attending at the end of May. We've got a presentation that we're going to be doing there on collaboration. So,
Thank you very much, John.
all
Thanks,
right,
Alexa.
have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
And before I let everyone else go, I just wanted to briefly mention a NASPO announcement. NASPO actually has a new initiative where they're actually doing full reimbursement for application and examination fees for qualified candidates who pass the certification exams offered by the UPPCC. So I will be sending you guys out an email with this information, but definitely now is a great time if you're interested in getting your CPPB or your CPPO certification. And thank you
And
guys
if
so
you
much
are
for
a procurement
joining.
officer in Broward County, you are interested in getting your CPPO or your CPPB, and now's the time to do it, so there's no cost. Thank you, Alexa.
Thank you guys. Happy Friday.
All right.